Hello everyone, today we're going to start off with the beach tumbler tutorial. This one I did make a glow in the dark. I kind of outdid myself this time. But I just went ahead and spray painted. The top was yellow, blue, and a cream color. These are some of the colors I decided to throw in there. Let's get started. So again, I did a yellow for my base. In the middle I did a blue, and then the bottom I did a beige or cream tan color for my base. I don't normally use this base color, but I decided to do this because I wanted to do something a little brighter this time. I normally do all the blues, but I wanted something with a better sunset. So I went for a yellow on top this time. But again, your base can be whatever you decide or whatever you choose. So there we go. I'm going in with it's a pink. I use Folklore acrylic paints when I do my beach tumblers. This one is a glow in the dark. So this is something new that I decided to do, but I always use the acrylic paints because they're very vibrant. If you can see, this color is very vibrant and it's a pretty sunset color, I would say. So all I'm doing is, it looks a little sticky. You see the little lines kind of spreading through there. I added a lot of acrylic paint again because I like to spread it the way I do, so I didn't mind all the strings or whatever. And all I do is just go back and forth. I have one of these little the stainless steel sticks. I think it's perfect for doing this because all I'm doing is going back and forth. You see how the lines are kind of dragging with it. Again, the reason I got the lines is because I added a lot of the acrylic paint. So you don't have to add that much. I prefer to do that because, of course, you see how the lines is just flowing while it's turning. So it worked for me. You don't have to do it. Again, make sure you always overlap your colors. Don't just start and stop, kind of overlap them, so that way when you get your heat gun, you can kind of just blend those colors together. Okay, so there's no right or wrong way of doing this. You're just putting it on, overlapping your colors, and kind of just putting it on. Some people prefer to do this with their fingers. Again, no right or wrong way to do this. I happen to do it like this, and I actually sell these stir sticks. They're $3 on my website. If you're interested in doing it, it just seemed easier for me because, again, once you do it with your finger, you got to keep cleaning your finger to go to the next color. Who has time for all that? So there we go, another color. So I started with I want to say it was almost a red color. Then I went in with a purplish pink. Then I went in with a greenish color, and then that yellow, of course. And sometimes I do leave a little bit of the color left in my cup, because you never know when you're going to have to go back in and kind of fill some spots. And you'll see when I do that a little bit later. But always leave a little bit in your cups just in case you have to go back and fill some spots. Clean it off, go to the next. There we go with the blue. So again, I just wanted to go with vibrant colors. This was a Father's Day tumbler that a client asked me to do. So I thought I would surprise them with some. I know they're from Puerto Rico and they love the beach. So I thought I would surprise them with a glow in the dark. So if they're ever at the beach at night and it starts glowing, that'd be a nice little surprise for them. So with the glow powder, I did add a little bit to my first layer of epoxy. So that clear layer of epoxy does have some of the glow in it. And then I also added some to each of these little mixes that I did with the acrylic paint. So I just added some to each layer to give it a nice little glow. And I do use real sand, everybody. We travel a lot, so I get all my real sand when we hit the beaches. My husband has a habit of collecting sand for me. So I do use real sand just to give it a little added touch. And then there I go with my heat gun. So all I'm doing is, while it's turning, I'm just using my heat gun, blending and mixing all the colors. It's going to take a while until it starts warming up, and then you'll see it start moving. It will start falling onto whatever you have laying on the bottom. So that's why I always use the bubble wrap that you get from all your packages that you have coming in that your husband's probably upset with you about. But anyways, cut those up and use those and throw them away when they get all messy or whatever. But that's what I use, because you will get some acrylic paint that's going to drip. That's not a problem. Just move on. That's why you left some leftover paint, so that way you can go in and fill some of those spots. So all I'm doing is just using my heat to blend those colors. No right or wrong way. And once it starts getting to where it's moving a little bit too much, You can always, I don't know if your turner does this, but my turn, I'm able to hit it and it'll go the opposite direction. So that way it won't all slide right off the cup. It'll be able to turn to the opposite direction. So that'll keep most of the paint on your cup and you won't have so much on the bottom of your table or whatever you're using. So very easy process. Some people ask, can they use a hair dryer if they don't have a heat gun? Yes, I don't see why not. All it is pretty much, this is a hair dryer, just a small heat gun. Some people have a more industrial. See, there you go. That's when I switched it over because I noticed I was getting some that was running a little too much. So that's why I just changed the direction to help it come back to the other side. But again, if you have a hair dryer because you don't have a heat gun or your heat gun's on the way, you don't have it yet, use your hair dryer. All you're doing is moving the moving your acrylic paints around. So a blow dryer will work perfect for this. And we're filling in those spots. And if you see at the top, kind of that pinkish color in the red, I have a little bit of space in there. And if you don't work kind of fast on this, your acrylic paints will kind of dry fast. So on these, you do want to work a little bit faster so that way your acrylic paints don't just dry up on you. But if you have some left over, you just go back up to it and use it again. That's exactly what I'll be doing to fill in some of those spots. That's why I say leave a little bit left over just in case you need to hit it later. Okay, so have it turn in. It pretty much looks, and there I go. I'm going back in, just filling some spots where I know I needed to fill. And this is just a habit. I always leave a little bit left over, and even if I don't use it, I always seem to use it some way or another, make a mold or something. So you will use it. And once you add all that on there, put a little bit more heat, it will work out just the way you want it to. Again, no right or wrong way, because again, you have to keep in mind, if you're doing a beach tumbler, you're going to be adding your acrylic vinyl. So you're going to be adding your palm trees, you're going to be adding some birds. So if there's any little spots that you don't really care too much about, you can always cover those areas up. Again, just filling in spots where I know I needed a little extra. Always mix the colors together. Kind of scraping around trying to get all what's left. And again, this little stir stick, you guys, is so easy. Even if you have micas to clean it, all you're doing is get some mica, dump it in whatever cup or whatever you're using, stir it real quick, I always keep wipes with alcohol, wipe it real good, you're done. These are the easiest things to clean. I love them. Okay, I'm just going back in, kind of moving things around. This is, again, it seems hard to just say, oh, how am I going to do this? Where am I going to put the colors? How am I going to make them? Really, you guys, this is not as hard as you think. This is really easy process. I think the hardest part is thinking of what colors to use. That would be the hardest part, I think. And if you look back at any of my my website, you'll see some of my other tumblers. I think this is one of the brightest ones I've done. Again, I normally go in with a blue top and a tan bottom. And always move it to the edge because you have epoxy, it's going to want to repel from the edge. So just always kind of push it more towards the edge. And you have to think about it too. Keep in mind that as this turns for another 6 hours or so, you're going to get a completely different design of what you actually thought it was. So if it doesn't look like what you want it to look like, keep in mind it's going to continue to turn for another 6 hours or so. And it's going to fill in different spots that you thought you missed or whatever. So don't fret. Okay, here my last step, well, my second to the last step is adding a little bit of touches of white. The white is where you're going to notice is going to be your waves. Okay, so I'm just adding a little bit because I just want to show a little bit of waves rolling in. And then again, go back in with your heat gun. And you'll notice that it takes you some time to get it moving. Because again, this acrylic paint, sometimes it does dry really fast. So you got to get it heated up first in order for it to start moving. Okay, it's starting to move now. And if you guys don't have real sand to use, not a big deal. Some people, I've seen some people use glitter in replace of the brown. I've seen some people just leave it brown. Don't change it at all. So that part is totally up to you. Again, I prefer to use real sand because it's a beach tumbler. That's just my added touch. But if you don't have that, don't worry about it. Just use maybe some brown or even some champagne color glitter. That would be a nice added touch to it. And if it's for a male, you probably don't want to use glitter, so you probably just leave it the cream color that you spray painted it. That wouldn't be a bad look either. So my final step is going to be to add my sand. And being that it's on epoxy, you're going to notice that it's going to like blend in. It's because the epoxy is soaking up the sand. So all you do is just kind of put a little added layer. You see that first layer? It kind of looked like it just soaked in. It's just because the epoxy is soaking it up. So you just keep adding until you notice that it's on there really good. And one thing to notice once you get ready, after this turns the next day, I usually wait till the next day and I come back and epoxy the entire cup. It might feel a little rough if you did use sand. That's not a problem. Go ahead and epoxy the entire cup first. And then after that second layer of epoxy, go ahead and sand your cup really good. So that way you can smooth all the edges from where you use the sand, or any edges that you feel are really bumpy. You can go ahead and edge those and sand them away and add your vinyl, and then those are going to be your last steps. You're done. You've made your first beach tumbler. And if anybody decides to make one, I'd love for you to send me it. I'm on Facebook at TBY, which is BYL Accessories on Facebook. I'd love for you to send me a picture of what you turn out to do. And so that's my finished product there. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm just going to let this turn for about 6 hours. And then I'll add my vinyl. Add your vinyl any way you want. You can get pictures straight off of Google beach trees, palm trees. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope to share more with you later. And if you have any questions, please feel free to comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much.